ATLAS is the acronym for Active Travel Latin America Specialists. Today, we are 10 tour operators representing 13 countries around Latin America and the Caribbean. And, well, ATLAS was created in 2008 by a group of travel specialists who got together and realized that they worked in the very similar way with the same purposes, with the same interests, valuing the same quality of work. And they realized that by collaborating and working together, they could not only raise awareness about Latin America, but also share the same best practices and work together to work better and do best for this amazing region and this amazing countries that we have here. So that's it. We are working together since 2008, and we work not only with active travel, but also, although we are passionate about adventure tourism, we also have amazing other experiences focused on community-based tourism, food experiences, cultural, wildlife, wellness, all types of amazing, unique experiences that Latin America and the Caribbean offer us. And today you'll find all the companies that are part of ATLAS. I'm sure that if you work with one of these companies, if you decide to work with other company, you'll find the same high level quality of service and commitment you find with the same company that you already work with. So yeah, let's go now to our speakers of today, who are Leif and Claire. I'll hand over now first to Leif, who are going to be talking about Belize. Leif, thank you so much. Let me stop my... Okay, welcome, Leif.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you very much. Let me just share my screen here and do a slideshow. Okay. My name is Leif, and I am one of the directors with Island Expeditions, and we operate tours down in Belize, Central America. So I'm just going to do a little overview on Belize and some of the experiences that we can offer there, and discuss some of the newish itineraries that we've been developing, and hopefully answer any questions at the end that you might have. But yeah, basically Belize is sort of a Caribbean nation in Central America. It's quite unique in that it has the second largest barrier reef in the world. It has a very diverse culture, beautiful waters. It's sort of on the east coast of Central America, bordered to the north by Mexico, and to the east, or sorry, the west and the south by Guatemala, by a very small sliver on the south, and Honduras also exists down below. The official language there is English. It is a former British colony, and the Queen's English is spoken in schools and in government and so forth, but they do have many local languages and different languages on the street. But it is certainly a unique place in Central America for that. The climate there is subtropical, with the trade winds blowing northeasterly off the open Caribbean. They have very diverse cultures there. Mestizo, which is a mix of the Maya with Spanish. We have the indigenous Maya people, the Creole, which is a mix between African bloodlines and Caucasian bloodlines. Garifuna, which is a unique culture to Central America, where they trace their roots to one slave ship that was shipwrecked, and they populated several islands in the Caribbean and kept moving and populated the rest of Central America. So there's a very unique story and culture associated with that, certainly in Belize and other nations in Central America. There's the Mennonites and Chinese, as well as many other settlers that have arrived in Belize from its sort of colonial past. So here's a map showing where it is in relation to the U.S., Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras. It's a very small nation that borders the Caribbean Sea. And here's an infographic that just shows all the direct flights currently into Belize. Currently, you can fly direct from Canada. The U.S. is the most common, of course. There's many different locations that you can fly into from Belize, as well as Guatemala, El Salvador, and Panama currently to get into Belize. So if you're trying to arrive via plane, then you'll need to land in one of these hub cities and transfer to get into Belize City. Quick facts. Yeah, it's the only English-speaking country in Central America, but the language of the street there is actually what we call Creole, which is a little bit of a misunderstood term. It basically means not of the colony, and there are many different Creoles in the world. The more famous being a French Creole, but in Belize we have an English version, an English Creole. And of course there's 3 different Mayan dialects. There's Yucatec, there's Mopan, and there's Quechua Maya. Very different languages. Spanish is also widely spoken. Yeah, many different other ones like Germans with the Mennonites and stuff like that too, an old version. So it's a very diverse language. There's many diverse languages spoken in the country. Yeah, it's a very quick 2-hour flight from the US. There are currently, as we spoke earlier, direct flights from Canada, US, Guatemala, El Salvador, and Panama. The capital city of Belmopan is in the central part of the country. It's sort of the administrative center of the country. The administration was moved there after Hurricane Hattie in this 1960s, early 1960s, where Belize City was virtually destroyed, so they had to move everything inland into the central part of the country. Belize has a very small population of 400,000, and because of that, their economy to the US, and it is currently 2 to 1. So in Belize, if something costs $10, it is the equivalent of $5 US. And so it's relatively simple to make those calculations in your head. Belize has the 2nd largest barrier reef in the world, other than the Great Barrier Reef in Australia, and obviously it is the largest barrier reef, the Mesoamerican reef in the Northern Hemisphere. It was formerly British Honduras, but changed the name to Belize in 1973. and it gained its independence from Britain in 1981. Here is a photo of some beautiful indigenous Maya women, and these are Mopan Maya and from the central part of the country. And here is a Garifuna mask and dance that's happening during their Garifuna Settlement Day in November. And this particular dance is used around Christmas and New Year's, and it is done to sort of mock the former colonial masters. You can see their mask there is formed around a Spanish face, and there it is a lively dance and drumming that happens around Christmas and New Year's. And wonderful experience to see that. Belize is a destination. The main thing that most people will find there is the coral reefs and the offshore atolls. It's an exceptional location for snorkeling, diving, sea kayaking, paddleboarding, that kind of thing. And of course, it's in Central America, so there is a ancient Mayan history, wonderful archaeological sites. There's broadleaf tropical rainforest. There's definitely activities for all adventure levels, whether it's bird watching, archaeology, hiking, swimming, snorkeling, diving, fishing, kayaking, paddleboarding, cave tubing, which is also a unique culture, or unique to Belize, and that we have some underground river systems that flow through caves. And years ago, somebody started floating these underground rivers with tubes, and it's several locations in the country have this, and in fact, most of the Caribbean, most of the Yucatan Peninsula, there are very, very few rivers, and most of the water travels underground. So these caves are full of their water and that kind of stuff. The cultural heritage in Belize, as we've spoken about the indigenous Maya, the Creole, and the Garifuna cultures are all quite unique. And of course, the biodiversity that we have. So we're just going to talk a little bit about the habitats of Belize. First, we're just going to show a few images and discuss each one. We have the Caribbean savanna and pine ridge, which is sort of the lowlands areas along the coast and the northern parts of Belize. Then we have the broadleaf tropical rainforest, which generally is sort of the southern part of the country. And then the Mesoamerican reef, we have the Belize Barrier Reef and the offshore coral atolls. And we'll discuss those two things. So here is a map of Belize, and it just shows some of the physical aspects of it. The lowlands, Caribbean pine and Caribbean savannas are represented here in the beige colors. We have the broadleaf tropical rainforest, which is represented in the green, and you'll see the barrier reef, which goes north to south, which acts as sort of a breakwater along the coast, generally about 10 miles offshore from the mainland. And then you will see there are 3 coral atolls, which are circular reef structures that are further offshore from the main barrier reef. And coral atolls, which we'll discuss a little bit, are more famous in the South Pacific, but the Caribbean basin hosts 4 of them, one of them north of us in the Mexico, Banco Chinchorro, and then the 3 remaining ones are, we can see right here, Turniff Islands, Lighthouse Reef, and Glover's Reef. So in the north here, we see mainly this sort of lowlands, wetlands, as well as the Caribbean pines. This is a common site in the northern part of Belize, this grasslands savanna. This is what we call more the Pine Ridge. So this is in the foothills of the Mayan Mountains. And then as we move a little further west and south, we get into the broadleaf tropical rainforest. It's certainly more lush. And here you can see the sort of triple canopy rainforest, some of the epiphytes, and here we have monkey's ladder, some of the vines. And then we move out to sea. So you can see here the main barrier reef that runs north to south from the Mexican border. Then we have Turniff Atoll, Lighthouse Reef Atoll, and Glover's Atoll that are outside of the main barrier reef. You can see here represented on the map. All of these areas have exceptional snorkeling. Here's some aerial view of the main barrier reef where you can see, and here what we have represented are some of the patch reefs which exist inside of the barrier reef zone, as well as inside the lagoon of the coral atolls. Here we have black mangrove, which is the predominant plant species we find out on the reef, and certainly kind of helps create land. Here are some of the mangrove estuaries that we paddle through, and then of course the beautiful tropical island overlooking the turquoise waters in Belize. So here's just a very short 1-minute video on snorkeling. Just gives you some video imagery of the main barrier reef and the coral atolls. I'll just let the video do the speaking for me here.
Stretching from Bacula Chico to the Bay of Honduras, the coral reefs of Belize are a wondrous world of color and diversity. An expansive network of marine parks, there are few places on Earth to match the undersea world of Belize. The Belizean reef is comprised of 3 distinct habitats: mangroves, coral reefs, and seagrass beds, all intimately interlinked to create one of the richest marine ecosystems on the planet. In 1987, island expeditions introduced a modern sea kayak to Belize, enabling adventurers to access rarely seen coral reefs and tropical keys. And today, our premier destinations for snorkeling are the Southwater Key Marine Reserve, Glover's Atoll, and the incomparable Lighthouse Reef. Exploring by sea kayak, paddleboard, or motorboat, this stunning underwater world awaits your discovery. Join us in Belize for a snorkeling adventure of a lifetime.
Okay, so just wanted to, I guess, show some of the video images, because often that portrays it a little better than just still images, but we'll just go through. Oops, excuse me. Yeah. Technical difficulty, excuse me. Okay, so we'll just talk a little bit about us as Island Expeditions. We specialize in adventure travel in Belize since 1987. We focus on sustainable tourism and cultural immersion. We offer both classic group expeditions and independent travel adventures. We specialize in remote locations outside the typical destinations for the country. So we tend not to focus on the main travel regions like San Pedro and Kikaker and Placencia. We try and get people out into the more natural parts of the country. But we also do have relationships in those locations and can incorporate them into itineraries. Fully customizable trips based on, you know, our clients' needs, and we're the only real operator that has access to 2 of the offshore atolls for kayaking and snorkeling, for overnight stays and so forth. So here's an image of one of our facilities. This is our operations base, and this happens to be during the cultural celebrations at Christmas and New Year's, where the dancers come by, and thought it was a great image of Belize for sure. These are Garifuna singers and dancers here. Here's some of our guides teaching sea kayaking and demonstrating, talking about the Belize Barrier Reef system from one of our base camps. This one happens to be at Glover's Reef. Kayak sailing is a really popular activity, and you can see a nice beautiful little islet in the distance that they're sailing to. At the end of a day, always sharing stories and a cold drink, and then of course delicious meals is what our staff and things are designed to accommodate for anybody's dietary restrictions. So we tend to create itineraries on different levels. So depending on what you're looking for, mild, moderate, extreme. We can kind of put together itineraries based on whatever it is that our clients are looking for. Here's again just some of the activities, some sea kayaking. Our classic group expeditions, Lighthouse Reef, we typically will incorporate a 3 or 4 or 7 night trip into a custom trip. These are just some of our itineraries that I'm happy to share with anybody that's of interest. Maya Reef Explorer, Glover's Reef and Maya Mountains. New for this year, we have our double atoll adventure, so an opportunity to visit both Glover's Reef and Lighthouse Reef all in 1 week, and as well as our Epic Belize, which is sort of a real highlight reel of Belize, going to the ATM, or Aktun Tunichil Muknal, we call it ATM for short, Caracol Ruins, Lighthouse Reef, Atoll, all in one. And basically we try and customize each itinerary for our clients based on what you'd like to do, and rebrand them in your for your business. Here's a couple of images of our base camp out at Half Moon Key, the Lighthouse Reef Adventure Camp. These are safari style tents with real wood frame beds and basic amenities, but the access to the activities from this location is second to none. This base camp is at the bottom right elbow in this image. This is an aerial image of Lighthouse Reef Atoll. Right in the center of it is Belize's most famous image, which is the Great Blue Hole, discovered by Jacques Cousteau. Here's a zoom in of that image. It's sort of it's a collapsed cave sinkhole system, and there's It is an advanced dive to get in there. There are stalactites and stalagmites around the edge of the sinkhole, but we more commonly will snorkel the rim. There's an exceptional snorkel all around the edge of this. So this is about 6 miles north of our camp. So we'll paddle up there and snorkel the rim. This is, just an image off the shore of our base camp here. This is Half Moon Cay, and Half Moon Cay is a national park. It's in fact the first marine protected area in the entire Caribbean, and the furthest offshore island in Belize. Beautiful islet, and happens to be a area where we have a rookery of red-footed boobies, as well as the magnificent frigate birds. Here are a couple of from some images of the frigates, and there's a red-footed booby, and iguana, or the one that more commonly found on the coast, called the wish willy, we call it in Belize. Here are some nurse sharks, just some blue porgies. Here's some of the boats that we take out to Half Moon Cay and Lighthouse Reef. It's about a 55, 60 footer, this one here. This is our dining pavilion, and you can see some of the accommodations off to the left there. Again, the other thing we do are independent travel adventures, much like FITs. We have several established itineraries, and we're also happy to, create custom ones based on whatever the needs of our guests are and clients. Here's some of the inland experiences, some of the reef-based explorers, and just going through a few images here just to wrap up, so I can open up the questions. All right. Thank you very much for your time. I am perfectly happy to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Amazing live. Thank you so much. If anyone has any questions, you can just raise your hand or leave them on the chat, please. Life, may I ask a question in terms of season? Is there a best season to visit Belize, or all year round?
Yeah, I mean, of course, Belize is open year round. There are two seasons, the dry and the wet season. The primary tourist season is during the dry season, and that starts in November and runs through the end of May. And really the main difference between the seasons is that, during the dry season, we don't typically see much rain more than say 20 minutes. We'll get a little bit more rain during the wet season. We can get rain for a few days, or we have as well the possibility of hurricanes or storms in the Caribbean. But basically, the main season for Belize is November through to the end of May.
Perfect. Thank you. Such an amazing country.
Beautiful place.
Wow. Great. I think we can move forward to Claire then. And if you have any extra questions, Life will be here through the end of the presentation, and he can answer that further. Okay, so welcome, Claire.
Thank you, everyone. Can you all see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay, bear with me 1 second. It was all ready to go just before, but just keep, here we go, hopefully. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone, and lovely to talk to you. And thank you very much, Leif. Now you've heard about Belize, I'm going to try and cover 3 countries, which will be quite challenging in such a short period of time, but looking forward to telling you a bit more about our neck of the woods. So Wilderness Explorers, we're a destination management company. We've been operating now for 30 years. Starting off, we offered product only in Guyana, but now we operate in Suriname, French Guyana, and some of the English-speaking Caribbean islands. We're very much a specialist in nature and adventure, community and cultural travel experiences. Here's a picture taken in the backyard of our office in Georgetown, a very colourful part of the world. Our team is very experienced. We love designing itineraries and working very closely, in particular with Indigenous communities, offering amazing wildlife, adventure and cultural experiences. We also are very much a global company. We do know some of you on the call and hoping that we can work with some new people in our area. So that's a picture of me with Tony Thorne, who is our managing director. He set up the company 30 years ago, and I've been working with Wilderness for 20 years. And along the way, I got married to Tony as well. We're very much a global team in that we have representation in the German-speaking market as well as in the Spanish-speaking market, and also service all the markets around the world, including UK, Australia and North America. We've always been very committed to working in trade associations such as LATA, the Adventure Travel Trade Association, and of course ATLAS, and we were co-founders of ATLAS. What do we offer? We offer customized tailor-made trips, small group departures, as well as birdwatching wildlife tours, serious expeditions, and as well as being a DMC, we also offer logistical support for film crews, tourism training, and so on. Who are our clients? We tend to find that people who come to Guyana are generally very well-traveled people, often a little bit older, although we are seeing younger clients coming to Guyana now. Generally interested, as I said before, in nature and wildlife and adventure. We're also finding we have more and more travellers and conservationists wanting to come to Guyana, looking for a sustainable journey with a purpose. And also we are seeing a big increase in demand from high-end luxury clients searching for one-off and unique experiences. We may not be a luxury destination in terms of our accommodation, but we certainly have some very wild and remote experience that we're finding our high-end clients are looking for. This has also been helped by the extra air access we have to Guyana now, including direct flights from British Airways from London to Georgetown twice a week, and increasing air access from North America, including United and American Airlines. So where are the Guyanas? I'm sure you know, but sometimes people ask me if they are in Africa. So I thought I'd put up a map and show you where we are. We are very much on the northeast corner of South America, but also we're on the Caribbean. So we're very much at the crossroads of two very different regions, very colorful regions. As you can see from the map on the right, Guyana is the biggest of the three Guyanas. It used to be British Guyana. Next to us is Suriname, which was Dutch Guyana, and then we have little French Guyana next to us. In a wider context, we're part of the Guyana Shield, which is one of the oldest geological areas on the planet, which makes us very rich and biodiverse. And we have one of the last 4 pristine tropical rainforests left in the world, covering a huge area here. When to visit Guyana, Guyana is just north of the equator. We have a rainy season from May through to July. So generally people don't come during that time unless they have a specific wildlife interest. The rest of the year, the temperature is generally between 24 to 31 degrees. And we operate tours throughout the rest of the year. Giving you some facts on Guyana. It was British Guyana until 1966 and is the only English-speaking country in South America. We only have 750,000 people living in our country, and 90% of those live along the coastal belt. Guyana, though, is going through a massive increase in interest. You may have heard that we have offshore oil production now, which means money is finally coming to the country, and that's why we're getting much more interest in airlines coming to Guyana. It really is changing very quickly, but we're seeing money from the oil coming through to the local communities. The roads and everything are really improving in Guyana. Guyana is a land of 9 tribes of indigenous people. And also has this longest single drop waterfall in the world, which I'll tell you about more later, but that's Kaitoa Falls there. So some unique selling points, as I said, we are English speaking. We have nearly 900 species of birds. So we're just behind Colombia there. We've just been actually at the Global Bird Fair where there were lots of people interested in our wildlife. Community-led tourism is very much a pillar of what we do. More of that later. But a few facts and figures. Guyana probably has in a year, less tourists than Machu Picchu has in a day. So we generally consider that we have about 4,000 to 5,000 tourists buying package holidays to Guyana. So it's very much off the beaten track. And our largest passenger aircraft in country only has 19 seats. With 1 north-south road from Georgetown down to Brazil, and that's only sealed for the first 60 miles. So you really are sending your clients off the beaten track. People come to Guyana and entranced by the different peoples that we have here. So apart from our 9 indigenous tribes, we also have the Europeans who came as explorers and settlers. And the story of sugar, coffee, and cotton is the story of the history of Guyana. With them, they brought African slaves, a very dark history. And when these slaves were emancipated, then East Indians, Portuguese, and Chinese came as indentured laborers. So when you arrive in Guyana, you'll see a very fascinating and rich melting pot of different temples and different peoples. During the pandemic, not only our borders closed very early, but we were able to survive by doing quite a lot of location production work. We did a lot of work with National Geographic. You may have heard of the last Tupui, which was a fantastic expedition lasting for a month, going to the highlands of Guyana. So we do operate really hardcore adventure and expeditions into truly remote locations, such as these, which were featured in that program. This is close to the border with Venezuela, and featured Alex Honnold, who you can see here was bivouacking off the side of a very incredible who was his biologist who's discovered many species of frogs and reptiles new to science. So these are some of the more exciting and hardcore adventures that we can do. This was a film trip, but we do mountaineering trips and trekking. But we have launched another expedition, which is a little bit more medium adventure. This is called the Kanuku Mountains Expedition. This is a fixed trip for 12 days, traversing 3 different habitats, mountains, forests, and rivers, and on the way learning traditional expedition skills and bushcrafts, such as fishing, tracking, and foraging, basically camping in the forest overnight. Once your clients have traveled through the mountains, then we go on to the Mapari River, which you can see here. It's very remote, one of our favorite remote locations. And here you'll see one of our key iconic species, the harpy eagle. This is where we have one of the best harpy eagle nests in the country, with a very, very good access point. You can stand 100 meters away on the edge of an outcrop and look into a harpy eagle nest, which for birders and for people who love wildlife is the most extraordinary experience. To stay at this camp, you stay in the hammock camp, which is featured on the left there. And then there are lots of wonderful wildlife activities around here, including the Goliath bird-eating spider on the right, which is one of the world's largest spiders. Another trip that we have just launched is our Guyana Highlands trekking adventure as well. And this is also on the border of Guyana and Venezuela. This is an Araucuna village, the only village of these native peoples in Guyana. You either fly there or fly to another local village called Copenhagen and take a boat to this village. You stay there one night, and then you go out trekking for 4 days across the highland plateaus. So you can see some wonderful scenery here looking across towards Roraima, and then visiting 2 world-class falls that nobody really knows of, or very few people have visited. The first falls is Camarang, and then also Ushi Falls, which you trek and see it first from the top of the falls, and then you come down to the bottom here, and then you can raft downriver to Parima, which is your gateway back to Georgetown. Another tour that we've just launched is our Explore Guyana tour, featuring wildlife conservation and indigenous communities. This is, again, very much part of community-led tourism, which is, so much of what we do. The pictures here are of another village called Surama, which was the first indigenous village to really open its doors to international tourists. But recently, another place that we visit on our conservation tour is a place called Wichabai, and one of the key guides here is Leroy, and you can see him being awarded the Whitley Award from Princess Anne for his work and the work of the Conservation Society in the South Rupununi in protecting red siskins. They also do some fantastic work with giant anteaters and armadillos. So we are promoting more and more grassroots conservation projects. This is a trip I led last year towards the red siskin nests, stopping by to have a savannah breakfast and then going up to the hills to see these incredible little birds. But anteaters also are a key iconic species here, and also in Karanambu, which is another of our favorite lodges. And then the Guyana Tourism Authority is being very active in opening up new villages, showcasing artisanal handicrafts by local people. So we were the first visitors to visit this village and do some weaving there. Indigenous community interaction is very important to us, but also, of course, seeing wildlife and traveling on the rivers, some lovely giant river otters here. And then in the savannas, you can go out seeing Termite City, horse riding, you can go out riding to look for anteaters. So there's lots of different modes of transport in Guyana. Guyana means land of many waters. A lot of our trips are river trips, but we also do riding, we have mountain bikes, trekking, and so on. And then other wildlife experiences. This is at Cayman House. You can go out and watch a black caiman being captured and data being monitored for some serious scientific research on the black caiman. Here we have sports fishing. This is a village called Rewa that we work very often with. That small fish on the right-hand side at the top is an arapaima, the world's largest scaled freshwater fish. And a lot of work is being done at Rewa to help preserve the population of this fish. This is Rewa Lodge to give you a sense of what the accommodation is like throughout Guyana in the communities. It's very simple, but it's not luxury, but the actual privilege of waking up on the river here away from anyone else is a fantastic experience. Closer to home, back in Georgetown, we offer lots of different activities, including going out in the river at night, looking at the birds coming into roost over the city, and very much cultural and culinary experiences, such as going to the market with Chef Delvin Adams, who was featured in Gordon Ramsay's Uncharted program, along with a singing chef personality that we have, who not only does he take you out to talk about the Seven Curry Tour, which is a banquet Indo-Guyanese for vegetarians and for people at wedding banquets. He also offers another tour called Taste of Freedom, which talks about the history of sugar and slavery and the emancipation of the slaves and the food and music legacy of the Africans in Guyana. He then comes back, cooks with you, and then sings with you, and he's written some great songs. So in the old days in Georgetown, a lot of people didn't want to spend very long in town because they didn't know there were many activities there, but we've created lots of activities so people coming just for 4 or 5 night tours, maybe from North America, can really get a lot of authentic experiences in the capital. Kaito Falls is 5 times, or nearly 5 times the height of Niagara, and to get there you either trek there or you can fly there. And spend a couple of hours on the ground. There is a guest house lodge there that's been recently renovated, and seeing clients will be able to stay there overnight. Great wildlife around there too. We've got Cock of the Rock and little frogs there. And then going on to the 3 Guyanas. So this is our main tour for the country. We can do tailor-made or scheduled small group departures, 15-day itinerary. And some quick facts on Suriname. Suriname's a Dutch-speaking country and was Dutch until 1975. It too has 8 tribes of indigenous people and is technically the smallest independent country in South America, but with lots of virgin rainforest too. It was exchanged by the English with the Dutch for New York in the 17th century, which is an incredible fact. And the city itself, Paramaribo, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So some beautiful buildings in the city. It's a very lovely place to explore. And a place where, again, very multi-faith, a synagogue next to a mosque which shares a car park during festival days is something I think we all would like to see more of around the world. Wildlife activities here include dolphin watching as well as turtle watching. This is a very significant stretch of coast, the Wild Coast, with 4 breeds of turtles come and breed here between February and August. But another joy of going to Suriname is to go into the interior of the country by river and visit the Maroons, who are the descendants of the escaped African slaves. This is a real snapshot of Africa, but in the middle of South America. So visit a village here, visit museums here, and learn a little about the African culture. Moving on to French Guyana. French Guyana is actually not a country, it's an overseas department of France. So the currency here is the euro. Again, 6 different tribes of Amerindian people and covered largely by virgin rainforest. The picture on the left, the top picture, is a picture of carnival. It's the world's longest carnival. It does go on for a month. And below we have a picture of some Hmong people who live in the Pidao village near Cayenne. So the French brought some refugees, Hmong refugees, to French Guyana during the Indo-Chinese War. So you can actually go in on a Sunday, go there and have noodles in a lovely Asian market, but you pay by euros and you're actually in South America. So French Guyana is a very quirky place. The capital is Cayenne, and cayenne pepper is named after Cayenne. But people come to French Guyana largely because they may have heard of one of the greatest adventure stories of them all, which is Papillon, which was written, some of you will know, or your clients will certainly know, it was written about 50 years ago. 2 major films were made of the film, of the book. And you can visit Devil's Island, you take a catamaran and go out for the day, or you can even overnight in a small hotel on one of the islands. There's a museum that covers the story of slavery there. And you can also see the cells where the prisoners were taken to. It's very atmospheric. Of course, it's dark history, but important history. But the jungle is taking over the island here. Complete contrast is we have the Guyana Space Center, which is the European Space Agency, where many satellites are launched. So there's a wonderful museum and a tour that you can do, a complete contrast to everything else that we offer in 3 Guyanas. We have other themed tours, and one of them that I'm really proud of is our Women Only tour, which we launched to cover International Women's Day for groups of like-minded women travelers. Carla is the lady on the left. She is actually our manager in our office in Georgetown, and she is our group escort on that. We try and meet famous female conservationists and pioneers in Guyana as we travel on this itinerary. So there's a trend that we're seeing at the moment, women-only tours. And then finally, I'd like to say that we have now set up our Kayak Foundation, which is a foundation working together to develop sustainable tourism. We're working very closely with Indigenous communities. At the bottom is a picture of me and with Sydney Allacock, who is a real pioneer. He comes from Surama, and he became a former vice president of Guyana and Amerindian affairs. And he has really inspired people throughout the country to look at tourism as a way of protecting a heritage and protecting their environments. So we're very proud that just recently at the LATA Expo, we won a gold award for our work with our Indigenous communities. Thank you very much for listening. I know I've covered a lot of ground, 3 countries there. If you have any questions, please ask me now, or please contact us. I'll be happy to tell you more. Thank you. I'll stop sharing my screen.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Claire. Congratulations on the recent LATA Awards.
Thank you.
Wow, these countries are definitely amazing. I feel like I'm not that close because Brazil is too large, but yes, we are close, and I definitely need to visit these countries. Yeah, there's so much to do there. So, well, let's see if we have any questions here for Claire. I think we don't. But yeah, you hopefully you left your contacts so everybody can reach out to you both. Thank you so much for these presentations. So rich in information. We'll save our presentations here today, and we'll be sharing with you as well. So yeah, thank you for this, and we'll be together this Thursday as well with Peru and Costa Rica. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ruth. Oh, there's a question here for Claire. A couple of years ago, tried to put together 2 of your tours, but had problems finding the best flight options. What is the best option?
Okay, thank you, Ruth, for asking that question. The 3 Guyanas themselves, even though they're so small and so close to each other, annoyingly, they don't all connect by air. So it's quite complex arranging flights. So I think it's probably best that I have a direct conversation with you to talk to you about the different air options. Also because, as I mentioned, more and more airlines are coming to Guyana now. So, every time we get a new inquiry, we work with the tour operators to try and help pull together the best options for flights for that particular client, given that we have more and more airlines that we can work around as well. And Copa is a great connector as well with Central America. So it will depend where your clients are coming from. And there are more and more internal and international options. So I've got your email address, Ruth, and I can contact you, and we could maybe have a private conversation, just talk more about the different options there, if that's okay. Okay.
Thank you, Catherine. Okay. Thank you, Peggy.
Thank you, everyone, for your attention. And
Very much,
yes,
everybody, for coming.
Okay, thank you.
goodbye, everyone.
Bye bye. Talk to you soon.